Hello, lover. You've just entered a portal of pleasure, power, and deep, unapologetic sensuality. This is Talk Tantra to Me, where we liberate your authentic self, reclaim the wisdom of the body, and let pleasure lead the way. I'm your guide, Leola, tantrika, pleasure priestess, best-selling author of Sacred Sex Ed, and devoted student of the erotic mysteries. I'm here to strip away shame and awaken your most radiant, sacred, and sensual self. Get in, babe. We're conspiring for your most pleasurable life and seducing the world into a greater good. So, take a deep breath with a vocal exhale, relax that delicious body of yours, and let's talk Tantra. Over the years, I've been approached by many pleasure-based companies to promote their products, but I've only ever said yes to one person because I genuinely love these products so much, as well as the woman behind them. Wands, spelled Waands, is a crystal pleasure toy company, and they have been a part of my Tantra journey since the beginning. And they're not just toys, they're truly activators and beautiful sacred pieces of art that foster deep self-connection, pleasure, and transformation. These 100% pure crystal wands and yoni eggs help you unlock your body's wisdom, clear energy blockages, and amplify your pleasure, whether alone or with a partner. And it's not just about the products. For me, it's about the heart and the soul behind them. And the owner, Courtney, I absolutely adore her. She's been so generous to offer you, my beloved listeners, an exclusive 15% off with the code Leola, Leola. So if you're ready to honor your sacred sexuality and awaken your sensual energy, stepping into a pleasure-filled life, head to wands.com. Again, Waands, 2 A's, and use code Leola for 15% off. And you can always find the link directly in the show notes. Trust me, you're going to thank me later. Welcome to Talk Tantra to Me. It is such an honor to be holding space for this divine knowledge to make its way into your ears and lifestyle. Today, I am very excited to bring in Dennis Hull to have a conversation about play parties and specifically Naked Soul Society, which he is the brand spanking new curator of Naked Soul Society. He is also a Tantra coach, and he is a dear, dear friend of mine. Dennis Hull found his way into my world a few years ago and dove right on in, hard, deep, fast, and very intentionally too.
Very true. Very true.
So yeah, we're super excited to have him on the podcast today to share a little bit more about his journey and also about Naked Soul Society and the play parties he will be hosting thus forth.
Thank you for having me, Leola, to talk about this, and thank you for what you have curated so far that I now have the honor and privilege to help shepherd into maybe some new areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear for the listeners, what is your experience of Naked Soul Society? How did you find yourself in this play party group to begin with?
Well, I guess in a sense, not in a sense. Literally, the application of the Naked Soul Society was my first step into your world, and not the first step into the world of Tantra, but certainly locally the first step into the world of Tantra. Joining the Naked Soul Society and being in some of your containers. I don't think I even went to a party until maybe I'd been a part of the group for 6 months or something.
Yeah.
But I got to know people in it in other areas. And but just going through, thinking back to the application process, the questions asked, how intentional they were, how they drew intentionality out of me, made it clear that this was the kind of group I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So for those that are listening that aren't super familiar with the group Naked Soul Society, this is a intentional tantric play space and community. It is a place to courageously commit to the nakedness of vulnerability, authenticity, and divine love. It is a space that is not inherently sexual, although this is a space where you're invited to explore the wholeness of your humanity, including your sexuality. But in my opinion, it's not the average play party, and it's not even the average like tantric play party, in my opinion. I truly feel that play parties exist on a spectrum, and I created the Naked Soul Society because it was something that I wanted to see in the world, the specific type of community container and experience. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear, just like start us off, like what's been one of your favorite moments at a play party in general?
A play party in general. Well, there's
Without naming names or like,
without naming names.
messing with anonymity or confidentiality, which, just as a, putting this here for those listening, that's one of the biggest concerns that people have coming into play parties is, I don't want to be outed in the community, in my family. And
right.
We'll talk maybe a little bit more about agreements later, but that's not something that you need to worry about because we do a lot of work to set up the community to be anonymous and confidential.
Absolutely. And which allows freedom, which is to me what this space is really about.
Yeah.
Freedom and courage. So the question of, I can think of two things that come to mind. Like a couple of the biggest experiences as I had were both around the ritual of the sacred slut.
Okay, great.
And once when I was the sacred slut, and another time witnessing someone else in it.
Okay, great.
Witnessing someone else in that kind of, and I don't know if we want to go into what.
Maybe like we tee it up. Do you want me to tee it up?
Yeah, if you like, yeah.
Yeah, so Sacred Slut, I'm not going to go too in depth of what that experience is, although it is something that you could experience at the Naked Soul Society or at the Tantra Love Retreat, which we have happened twice a year here in Austin, Texas. Dennis has been to many of them and supported us. And there are other podcast episodes about that if you're interested in the Tantra Love Retreat. But the Sacred Slut is an experience that invites us to conspire for the greatest pleasure for all, and particularly one person at a time who both has an opportunity to maybe receive exactly what they've always desired and be evidence and permission for others, but they're also offering their body in a way that allows the field to play and explore. And it is an experience where, it's anonymous to a degree. There's blindfolds. It's also something that is really fun to watch. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to, if you're ever at any of our play parties, also know that everything's at choice. You're not going to be pressured or coerced into doing anything. And voyeuring is participation. And voyeuring Sacred Slut is probably my favorite thing to witness. And I actually like to be the timekeeper. I like to be the guardian of the Sacred Slut.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm sure that you have had events that have had this as a ritual and a theme, and we'll have them again.
Yeah.
What stands out to me, and although it's called Sacred Slut in both of the situations I'm thinking of, these were not sexual interactions, particularly, and the value to the recipient is in being able to say, "This is what I want," and then having the courage to surrender into it.
Yeah.
And witnessing someone take that kind of stand, it can be very edgy, right? To say, okay, I'm gonna ask for something that I want from a group of people, some of whom I may not even know.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to let the space co-create my desire for me.
Yeah.
And so witnessing other people doing that and standing in that courage and having that power and strength, and then watching other people that, again, like I love the word conspire for the greatest good. There's such community in it. And it's community that it's compassionate, caring, non-judgmental community, all conspiring for pleasure and good that pays it forward.
Yeah.
And I've loved being able to see that. And so there was one instance in particular of someone who, this just happened to be a woman. She was very timid. She didn't want to do it, but she kind of did. And then she ultimately got her courage up. She did it and then never looked back. And I still know this person, and she lives an entirely different life now than she did. And that was a turning point for her, just being able to face that and face it with courage, ask for what she wanted. And the play party space, the energy, the atmosphere gave her permission.
Yeah.
Offered her that opportunity, and she was safe. She felt safe to do it.
Yeah.
In my case, having, when I first did it.
Can I share a little bit just
Please.
about what you shared?
Uh-huh.
I just want to highlight here the growth opportunity that's available at these types of play spaces, and really allowing yourself to lean into pleasure as medicine, pleasure as a portal to your next highest timeline. As you mentioned, her life. And I mean, we're not going to get name names or share what that actually looks like because we don't want to out her, but I've seen this happen over and over again, that people literally shift timelines because pleasure is allowing them to soften their nervous system. It's increasing the capability to work with your neuroplasticity. There's just so much available there. And when you can claim what you deeply desire in the place where it's potentially the most vulnerable and edgy, like a play party, then you can do it anywhere. You can ask for, you know, the fresh tomatoes on your sandwich. You can ask for a raise. You can set boundaries with your family. Like, it's just really, really powerful. So
it is. Yeah. And witnessing it and the honor and privilege of being able to witness it is something. And just being a part of a space, like, imagine being, if you're thinking about going to a party, imagine being in a space where you literally don't have any concerns about whether anybody is for or against you. They're for you.
yeah.
They're for you. They're for themselves. Everybody is rowing in the same direction, right? It's safe. There's no matter what is happening, everybody is there co-creating a safe, sovereign space for one another. Everybody wants to see everybody else succeed and get what they want.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Whether there are sexual things happening or not, it's the freedom and the energy of that freedom that creates the space.
Amen. I totally agree. Okay, let's hear about your favorite personal experience.
Yeah, mine was also, so, you know, the first time I went to a party, there was a sacred slut opportunity, and I didn't do it. And I wanted to. The second time, I got my courage up to do it, and I was afraid. Even though at that point I knew people, there was really no reason to be. But what I was afraid of was that I would ask for what I want, and then I would, you know, be in the position of receiving, and nothing would happen.
Yeah.
And it ended up for me, I didn't plan this, but it ended up being a confrontation of sort of feelings of rejection, long held. I didn't expect it to be that kind of a medicine. And you were there for that, and you saw what happened for me emotionally after that. And I'm pretty transparent and vulnerable these days about how shit went down. It was a life changer for me too. And I still look back at it and think, you know, everyone should have this opportunity.
Yeah.
And the lesson that I learned there, just this is a bit of an aside, but the lesson for me personally was not in the receiving, it was in the courage to ask.
Wow. I love that. So, so profound. And I think that that just highlights too, that you can't fuck it up by making the ask, right? You're going to miss every shot you don't take, first of all, but also really being with yourself. And how do you handle when someone says yes? And how do you move with rejection? How do you use the rejection as a redirection? How can you remain open and curious even in the rejection? There's just so much opportunity in that. And this is one really beautiful, I kind of want to share my favorite experiences, but I want to segue while we're on this into why I feel, one of the reasons why I feel our play parties are different than others, because we are screening for this quality of individuals that can hold this capacity for self-growth and development, and they're self-responsible and they're sovereign. You know, I've been to a lot of play parties, and I tend to find that play parties exist on a spectrum. Have you been to a ton of other play parties besides ours?
Not a ton, but I've been to others. I've been to enough others to see the difference.
Okay.
Just to see, yeah. Yes.
And do you want to share anything about like the other variations and what works for you, what doesn't work for you?
I can. Yeah, I can share that. And I can share, you know, like, why was I comfortable reaching out to step in to take over as curator?
Yeah, please. Group? Let's do that.
Because it's curated, because it is, and curated, I like that word, because the spaces in the parties that I've been to that you've curated are co-created spaces. The screening process, the application process is not really to exclude anyone. It's to say, what would be necessary to make it possible for this person to be a fit?
Yes.
So that they have the tools, the background, the fortitude to take care of themselves and to do their part to co-create and hold the sovereign safe space. Others seem to be, I don't know, more top down, where people come into the space and it's sort of like they outsource the experience to the host.
Okay.
Like they expect the host to say, here's everything that's happening, and here's what safety means, and here's what, when they go over agreements, all this, the words are the same.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not calling anybody out. It just, it doesn't have the same feel of, hey, welcome to this space. Here's your seat at the table to co-create what we're all going to do together.
Yeah.
It's more like everybody, we're all on this side of the table and the hosts are over there saying, here's how this is going to go.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
that one thing is enough to dramatically change the energy for me and the observation of behavior I see in other people.
Fascinating.
I like that we are curating a space to draw people in to co-create.
I love it. I love it. And that's one of the qualities that we're looking for when we screen. So before I had created this community, I found that there were kind of there's a spectrum of play parties, right? In the sex positive space, in the kink space, in the tantra space, in the temple space. And I found that there was one version of play party that was for really hot and wealthy people. And it was generally really expensive. And that's what they were screening for. It's like, can you buy your way in, or are you very, very hot? And like, that's kind of, those are the bars, which aren't bad, but it didn't really leave a lot to be inspired. These were parties mainly that I went to in LA. Were very high production value. So incredible performances, insane venues, just beautifully done. But there wasn't any conversation about consent or boundaries or co-creation even. It was like, here's a performance and now we're going to open the floor and everyone can go fuck each other. And there wasn't any there wasn't enough heart in it. There wasn't enough intention, right? But they were fun. And I really just voyeured at those parties. Then on the other end of the extreme, I see that and this is really common in Austin and I think a lot of other tantric hubs, which are these tantric play parties, which are amazing because they generally do include a little bit more of a conversation around intentionality. And they also have, consent and safer sex conversations mixed in there. Now, what I feel like they're missing is, and actually that's not true. I shouldn't say they're missing this because I actually like this. They are very, very, very inclusive to the point that there's no screening process. Most of these, you can just buy a ticket on Eventbrite, right? And I think that that's really powerful because it's making it accessible to lots of different types of people and allowing this work to spread and be shared to the masses. And I found for me, those were not spaces where I felt inspired or even comfortable or truly safe to explore my edges and like my deepest desires. I found that at times, because there was no screening, there wasn't a level of like self-responsibility. People were like brand new, off the streets. So when we're screening in Naked Soul Society and I've been doing this for the past 3 years, but now Dennis gets to take this over, and I'll share a little bit more about why we're doing that in a moment. But we're screening for, first of all, self-responsibility and emotional intelligence. Like, have you done some work? Have you been in previous play spaces? Have you done like therapy, leadership trainings, like any type of workshops, things like that? And then we're also screening for, what's your like vibe and aesthetic? Like, what do you want to co-create in this community? Kind of speaking to what you had shared. Like, what is your passion and purpose? Like, the people in this community are like making the world a better place, or, really artists, creators, builders, community leaders, and really inspiring, because this isn't a place where you just go to connect sexually. It's also to connect, in emotional intimacy and spiritual intimacy. So
It is, and it has been that for me. Like, I've made some of my best friends that I know will be in my life forever.
yeah.
And it's not sexual, but we're best friends, and we're going to be that. And this is one of the things that I think the basis, the Tantra basis, is always there.
Yeah.
And when I say the basis, what I mean is that when we get together as a group or a subgroup in the Naked Soul Society or any of the conscious group, we are co-creating with our life force energy to varying degrees.
Yeah.
And that consolidated life force energy is meaningful, right? And it can be helpful to me individually. I can get something out of it. I can give something to it. Again, it's conscious, it's co-created. And I think that's, and you spoke to this too. It is curated and managed, but it's also accessible, right? It's accessible, and we want that. Like, we don't want to freeze people out. It's not. I don't know. A way I would put it is, the first time I came to a party outside of a retreat space, one of the Naked Soul Society parties, I was just struck by the seriousness and joy. And that just spoke to me. And this is one of the things that continue to speak to me. And like I said, that basis of harnessing life force energy to do something good.
Yeah.
And we don't always know what it is. We just know that having it all together in one place feels right together.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. So maybe I'll share some of my favorite experiences at play parties. Okay. So I'll do similar to you. I'll do one that was like a witness experience and was at one of my events. And I'll also share one that happened at another event that I got to like receive or experience, because I generally don't play in my own containers so much. But one of my favorite experiences at a Naked Soul Society event, it happened, and there was this beautiful, strong, masculine man sitting in a chair, and there were like 7 women just completely pouring their priestess powers into this individual. And it was happening like, I have this painting of Aphrodite over my fireplace, and it was just happening right underneath of that painting. And these women were women, most of them had worked with me in some capacity, had learned some of the things that they were doing to and with each other to this man, right there. And it was just one of those moments of like, wow, full circle. Wow. Like, look at these women collaborating with each other and also really honoring this man. And it was just really, really beautiful and powerful to just see that happen in my living room. Another one that I'll share. And it was also, I'll say, it was pretty sensual experience. It wasn't a super, like, it wasn't like, oh, this is a, I don't know, like a FFFFFFM, and he's like plowing through these women. It was not that at all. I think there was very little genital stimulation, but I enjoyed that. There was another play party that we did at my old location, and for that one, it was going quite late. And generally when it goes quite late, my husband, like at a certain point, is like, all right, we're past the closing time, let's wrap it up. But he was off having fun. And so I thought, all right, well, we'll just keep allowing people to go. I mean, generally we have like a time that it ends, but oftentimes we go overtime. And this was one of those times that I was starving. So I'm in the kitchen, I make myself a steak, I cut it up, and then I walk into the living room with my steak on a platter, and I'm just watching an orgy happen.
While you're eating
While
your
I'm
steak.
eating steak, and I'm thinking, wow, what a Dionysian, like, paradise I find myself living in. And I'll also say that our play parties, they don't, like, there's varying degrees of how erotic they become, but I find that generally the later it goes, the more wild things get. So yeah, it was at the very end of the night. And then another one of my favorite experiences was at another play party. And it's with this group called Heaven Circle. They are international, and they do these like bigger scale events. And they hired myself and Justin, who I do the Tantra Love Retreats with, to go and like facilitate some tantric connection. Because Heaven Circle kind of fell on that same like high end, high production value. And they wanted to bring in more depth and intention by having us come in like as consultants with Tantra. So anyways, we did like a couple of like warm up workshops leading up to the main play party. But the night of the main play party, we were off. We were off duty. We could just be in the experience and play. And they had all these things like build up to the play party, like fireworks and performances. And then the way that they opened the play party was they brought everyone into this big room that had 6 queen size mattresses, like red mattresses put together. So it was like one giant red bed. And there were like, it was all lit by candles. And they had these women, like 6 or 7 women in the center of the 7 beds, all blindfolded. And they were like, just like kind of being sensual with themselves and each other. And then the host rang this gong. And when the gong was rung, there's 7 men start crawling into the center of the circle. And they're kind of just like again, more sensual. And then he rings another gong, and then it starts getting more sexual. And like each gong is like a deeper, experience. And then at the last gong, he invites us all into what's happening. So basically, there's kind of this orgy that's like starting things off. And then he invites everyone in. And as soon as that gong was rung, I dove in because I'm thinking everyone is gonna like want to dive in. This is so fun. This is so unique. I think you have to be careful with something like that. And I don't know if we'll ever do something like this at Naked Soul Society. It's really up to you. And I think that you could find a way to do this that's a little bit more cautious of consent and things. But I jump right in and I look around and no one else jumped in but me. I was the only one that jumped in. Andrew yells, "That's my wife." And then he eventually came and joined me. But
I love that.
Yeah, it was great.
So you're always the leader. You're always going to lead the way. Trailblazer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's also been fun to explore, like, what does it mean to hand off some of this leadership and legacy? And that's why I'm so excited to have you come in. For those that are listening, have been listeners for a while, you know that I'm kind of on this journey of shifting my focus a little bit more into really raising up the next level of leaders in this space. And a lot of that's happening through my community, Pleasure Priestess, training women in this space. And it feels really special to have you as a sort of progeny, mentee, like, I don't know how to say it, but
those work, yeah.
For Naked Soul Society, for like this play party group. And I'm shifting more of my focus towards, growing my family, etc. And so I love Naked Soul Society. And it's been a big, like, internal debate within myself of what do I do with this in this chapter? Because I want it to continue, because it's something that I believe in, because it's something that I've seen support so many people and be such a vehicle for seducing the world into a greater good. And also, if I look at all of the things on my plate, this isn't the thing that is that I feel is my highest leverage right now. But I also feel like it is high leverage and I don't want to let it go. So when you reached out with curiosity of taking more leadership, I was really happy and excited. And I'm curious if you want to share any more about like what inspired that for you, and what has your journey been like to get to this place?
I can share some things that you don't even know about, actually.
Great.
That brought me here. So.
I see you, sister, already so spiritual, deeply devoted to your path, but something in you knows there's more. You've meditated, manifested, maybe even danced under the full moon. But have you fully felt the power of your unapologetic pleasure and sensuality? Have you allowed your body to become your greatest teacher? Have you stepped into leadership in love? The Pleasure Priestess Initiation is your next step. A full year of deep sisterhood where we do life and love together. Online, in ritual, month after month, and in the flesh for a juicy in-person immersion. We'll explore powerful Tantra practices that you can take home and adapt, whether for your beloved, your sisters, or even for your own community. Plus, we'll have amazing guest sexperts, medicine women, and other powerful priestesses already walking the path, coming to share their expertise with you, as well as group masterminds, an electric WhatsApp chat, and high-level support as you step into your fullest expression. The initiation is open for enrollment now to start at the end of October. But as soon as you join, you get access to the vault of over 70 hours of previous Tantra trainings, resources, and the vault of our past guest teachers. This is more than a program. It's an initiation into your power, into your pleasure, into the woman you know you came here to be. Are you ready to awaken the pleasure priestess within? Click the link in the show notes to claim your seat in the temple, or visit us at www.talktantratome.com/pleasure.
So my journey started with you a couple of years. It started a little before that, but locally here, we're in San Antonio and Austin, and you're here in Austin, and I live closer to San Antonio. And my journey started more or less, really kicked off at a Tantra love retreat, which, I always recommend, and everybody should go to one. And if you haven't, book it. Don't wait. Um, and over the course of time, uh, as I began to just accept my own gifts and what I could bring to the space, and I'm working with you, and I'm working
Yeah.
with Justin, and just learning, I started thinking, what do I want to do here? What do I really want? And really feeling community. And as I got more involved with Naked Soul Society, thinking, this kind of community doesn't exist in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But it could. Why couldn't it? It feels like it's right for this. I have friends there. Several of us drive to Austin for these events, but why couldn't we have this kind of a community? So it was already on my to-do list, right? I'm coaching, I'm doing tantric work in San Antonio, and thinking, this is a next logical step, is to create a community here. And so I had already had on my list, before the end of the year, I'm going to book with Leola. I'm going to learn what she did. I want to duplicate this, and I want to think about how to bring this kind of a community to San Antonio.
Yeah.
So it's already kind of percolating in the back of my head. And then I see the text come through about, hey, you're thinking this is the change, that this is not the best use for your time.
Yeah.
You love it, and I could feel that even in the message, like
Yeah.
kind of a bittersweet thing. And there was just this immediate calling to me, is like, you have to do this.
Yeah.
You have to reach out. I didn't know what you'd say. So I just reached out and said, this feels like a right thing for me to do. I do feel called into, I'll say, a leadership role. I still like something like curator better, but
Yeah. It's a leadership role, and you're the curator.
yeah,
that
it
is
just
leadership role
felt
is.
like something that, like, you had really built something that's been meaningful, not just to me, but to so many people that I know personally.
Yeah.
And that just to feel like they're part of that community means something, whether they've even been to an event.
Uh-huh.
And it just felt, I don't know, it just felt like you built something too meaningful and valuable to let pass into the breach.
Yeah.
And I just kind of had this feeling of, like, if not me, who?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
So I reached out, and I'm honored to say that we have this, and I get to take on this mantle and really honor the legacy of what you've created. I mean, I probably, somebody will look at this and be like, "Oh, he's such a simp." Well, it's true, because you have just really impacted so many lives with this, and I hope to have that opportunity too, and to just maintain the lineage of what you've built.
Yeah, and you already have touched so many lives in doing this, and that's why you're the ideal person in my eyes to have come to me. And Dennis actually wasn't the only one that came to me with the desire to take it over, which was such a compliment. But yeah, I've seen you in this work religiously. You have devoted yourself deeply, deeply, deeply to doing the work for yourself. And then as it's become available, step into facilitating and supporting others, both in a professional context, but also just in the field. Like, I've seen you at, almost all of the Naked Soul Society events, at so many of the Tantra Love Retreats. So I know, and you've also worked with me, you've worked with Justin, the level of commitment and dedication that you've put into this path marks the possibility of you really leading this from a powerful space. So one of the things that I also really appreciate about you is your integrity, is that you are a man that I trust to actually hold this space and keep it safe and sacred for everyone inside. And obviously, we've put together a process that supports that, but, we're human, right? And there's people that are trying on new ways of being, and we get to be gracious with each other, but we also get to call each other forth to their highest. So I'd love to speak a little bit more about, like, our agreements and our like new member orientation, so people can kind of understand what we're doing with that. But do you have anything you want to?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's so attractive about Naked Soul Society play parties anyway.
Yeah.
Is the way that that's teed up, the way that new members are welcomed and oriented to the space.
Yeah.
And you talk about sovereignty and safety and integrity, and what I appreciate about it is how it's made clear that it's a co-created space. Like, we're all responsible for the safety of the space. You are the host, or in this case, I am the host. but, you can't outsource your safety to me,
Yeah.
right? That when you are you're agreeing to these things, you are taking the responsibility, right? Sovereignty to me implies responsibility. Um, and so that's one of the things I like is that it's, okay, there's the rules of the house. The rules of the house are rules. Like, okay, if this is going to be in my venue or at my house, don't fuck in my bed. That's a rule.
Yeah.
Right. And then the agreements are things we're all agreeing to. And if you can't agree to that, you're invited to not stay.
Yeah.
But everybody agrees. And in the parties that I've been to, the Naked Soul Society play parties, everybody agrees and they stick to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so we do this in a few different ways to make it very clear what the agreements are, but we also want to treat people like adults. And I feel like we do a good job of that, not, over analyzing all of this stuff every time. And thankfully, I think that our screening process does a really good job of just bringing in people that get it and are cool and are not really, an issue. We have, hundreds of members. We've had, double that apply. We've had to remove 2 people, but it was not because of anything that happened at play parties. It's actually things that happened in our chat,
right.
Which is great. But that's a thing to say too, is we always are open to the community creating together this field of safety, that if they see or notice anything that's off, to bring it to, Dennis as the curator or me previously more so, although I'm still going to be active in the play parties. Dennis is just taking the leadership hat. But yeah, our screening process. So every single person that comes into the Naked Soul Society knows one of us personally, or they're highly referred by someone else that we trust and know very well and kind of vetted that way. Or they fill out the application and we have a conversation with them that kind of goes over those things that we talked about earlier to screen. And really the main type of energy that we're screening out, or not even screening out, we're maybe redirecting, is kind of like a takey type of energy, or an energy where they just haven't done a lot of work. And I think that takey energy is something that I've seen at the super high-end play parties. I've seen at the tantric play parties. And I don't want to demonize takey energy. I think that when 2 people are consenting to that sort of ravishing energy, it's awesome. But we don't want people being creepy. Are you coming to this party for the right reasons is basically. And so we don't really deal with things at the play party because of that, in my opinion. And I also just want to speak into what type of people come to the play parties. Do you want to what do you see?
I mean, it's all kinds of people. The thing that I think is in common is everybody's just saying, we don't want to wear a mask. Look, Naked Soul Society play parties are the kind of party that everybody who goes to a Halloween party wishes the Halloween party would become at the end of the night.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right? When you're there, and except it's very much, it's a sober experience for the most part, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Because we're cultivating conscious connection and intentionality, but it brings all types of people. I mean, my first one, I was sure I'm going to be so much older than everybody else. Nah, the spectrum of age is pretty broad.
But people take care of themselves too.
Yeah,
it's
people
not
are fit, they take care of themselves. Nobody's unwashed or whatever. I mean, I think we all appreciate
But
that.
we all know that, we've all been to that tantric play party where it's stinky hippie vibe, which hippie vibe, we love it. But we're a little bit more, we take care of ourselves. Yeah. Maybe a little bougie angle too.
I think that's okay. I mean, I think this is, I think, the group calling each other forth, calling the individuals forth a little bit, right? And that's a part of what the play parties are. We haven't touched on this, but I think one of the things that I think is different about a play party, say, than other tantric experiences is, to me, the play party is the place to apply what you've learned.
I love that.
Right? Yes, there can be lots of medicine, and there has been for me at play parties at various times. There's medicine all over if you're open to it. But I think play parties they're parties, right? And mostly they're a party like any other party you would go to. Mm-hmm. It's people just laughing, having fun, talking to each other, you might look over here and see a little something interesting,
Yeah.
sexual or not. You might see somebody getting flogged in the corner. That could happen. But mostly it's just a party.
Yeah.
It's people enjoying each other's company. And it's very freeing energy. I've never felt like anybody was tiptoeing around somebody else, or, a first timer might be a little timid about how to engage, but.
What would you say to someone who is like, I don't know if I should apply, or is nervous to apply, or even nervous to attend a play party in general?
Well, so nervous to apply, like what's the worst thing that could happen in an application? You get told no. But in the application process, as I've experienced it and how I've seen it, by the way, I applied, and it wasn't like you came back and said, hey, you're in, nice to meet you. It was you came back and you had questions and we had a conversation, and like I had to clarify things, and, it wasn't an easy in per se. But it was accessible, and there was really there's nothing to lose by applying. And actually there's a lot to gain simply by applying, because it asks questions of you that are worth you knowing about yourself.
I love that.
They're worth you knowing. So don't be afraid to apply. And if you are told no, it's probably not going to be no, not ever. It's going to be, this doesn't feel like the right time, and here's what we see and why. Here's what we would recommend. And the recommendations are coming from a place of wanting you to be safe.
Yes, exactly.
Right? They're not from wanting to say, nope, you're not our people, get out. It's, we want to know that you are able to come into this space and have an experience that is meaningful to you, and that you can hold that space. You can be sovereign. You can be responsible. You can have fun. You can experience the joy and be serious. Like,
yeah,
it's just making sure you have the tools.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't send you into the lion's den with red meat and no weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we might suggest, like Dennis might suggest, working with him, or maybe some online course, or maybe a retreat or something else is a good starting point to make sure that you're stepping into the space with the right tools and the ability to process whatever might come up for you in a space that can generally be charged, because sexuality is so charged in our culture. So what about anyone that's like really nervous to attend the play party in general?
There's just, like I said, it's really a party like almost any party you've been to, except it's sober.
Yeah.
There's
you can bring like a glass of wine or something like that. We let you be an adult, and we talk more. That's more in the agreements too. We talk about what that looks like.
It's not drinking culture.
There's not an open bar. This isn't like a place to drop a bunch of Molly.
It's a place to just connect with people and to explore intimacy, very broadly defined.
And you could also change those rules, by the way.
Yeah, I could.
Whatever
I probably won't, but like I said, I've made some of my best friends, male and female friends, at play parties, because it just feels like there's nothing off limits to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just be yourself with it. And I've always been met personally with compassion rather than judgment.
Yeah.
If I've ever felt judgment, then afterwards it's me looking at myself going, I'm doing it to myself. Nobody's doing it to me. So it's just it's a place that there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
Right? What's the worst thing that can happen is some beautiful person comes up to you and says, hey, I'm interested in you. Oh, what do you do with that? Well, you lean in and you say, oh, okay, tell me more.
Yeah.
Be curious, have fun.
Yeah.
So I think back to my nervousness in going to some of these parties early on, and I look back and I'm like, there was just nothing at all to be nervous about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say that at most play parties I've gone to, I actually haven't really interacted with a ton of people, or I think I've had sex at less than 10% of the play parties I've been to. Yeah. And even though so that's just something to be said, that you could go and have a massage, you could have a good conversation. You could just be in this energy of turn on. And I think that that's another thing to say, is it's really about getting high on your own supply, getting high on the energy of eros, and seeing what's possible from that. So after people are welcomed in, and again, if it's a no, it's not usually a no. It's more of we see another step in your journey before coming into this space. So just apply. It's not you like, you know, you're not going to lose anything. Once you are accepted, you'll get an email that has tickets to and passwords to purchase the tickets to upcoming events. And then there is a new member orientation, which is a safer sex and consent kind of workshop. And the format of this might change, but generally what's done is we have a Zoom call or we meet at the event location before the play party starts. And this is only for new members, which is one thing that I like about Naked Soul Society, and I do hope that you continue with, because I've been to a lot of play parties that do talk about consent and safer sex and intentionality, but then you go to one party and then you go to the next party and it's the same 30-minute to hour-long spiel that you're sitting through every single time. And to me, that's like agony. Like I would rather just not do the play party at all, to be honest, and like, you know, get some of my sexy friends together. I wanted to be nice and approachable. So we have this process where when you're a new member, you go, you do the safer sex and consent workshop, then you never have to do it again. But we do, every time you buy tickets, you do have to look through the agreements again and check everything off. We have all the materials available at every play party to talk about how to have safer sex conversations. So it's all available, but you know that when you walk into this space, everyone has the same vernacular. Everyone has the same education. We're all on the same page, but we don't need to drill this in every single time.
Right. Right. And I appreciate that. And I like the way it's laid out and I like the way it's done because to me, it doesn't feel like I'm being schooled.
Yeah.
Right. It feels like I'm being given the opportunity to reduce some uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what, when people haven't been to one, that's what they're afraid of. Oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, in that conversation, you start going through a lot of the things that other people have already been through. Right. This is where you get the benefit of everybody else's experience and what's happened and why things have come up. And are part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that gives you the tools to say, whatever happens, I got my own back. Mm-hmm. Because I know how I need to be and I know what to expect and how to communicate with other people in the space.
Yeah. Right.
So it's not you sitting down being read the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that. That may be embedded in it in a way, but that's not really how it's presented. It's just, it's saying, hey, these are the things that if you behave this way and you expect everybody else to behave this way, it's going to be a safe space. It's going to be, everything's going to be fine. And you can just let go and have fun.
Yeah.
Right. We're all agreeing to the borders of the space. Everything within those borders, you can let go and have fun. Be wild, be free.
Be wild, be free.
Yeah.
Let's chat a little bit about the flow, or like what people can expect. Do you want to share? You've been to enough. You're now hosting. Do you want to share a little bit about the flow, and I can fill in the holes?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, so what you described there, you know, you've had this conversation with new people, and then everybody shows up, and my recollection of the events is there's usually still another like refresher. Sorry. Another refresher of all of the agreements that we just talked about. Yeah. It's 5 minutes. Like everybody, we just went through this with the new people. Here's the things. We're still talking about sovereignty. Just a little bit of a reiteration because you want everybody that's in the space together to see each other agreeing together, right?
Yeah.
It's creating the community. Based on agreement of the space and the co-creation. So that happens. And you talk about, I think in ISTA, it's the RBDMS, you use the spread.
Yeah.
It's a reiteration of that, usually a reiteration at that point. And I really love the way that you and Andrew like play act that to see how how it can be done, and you play with it, and that makes it light and fun. And then people have the opportunity to practice that.
We want you to have these conversations in a way that is more sexy rather than feeling like, oh, I've got to go through this checklist of this acronym of things to make sure that I'm going to be safe. It's meant to be fun and playful and foreplay.
The conversation, for people who don't know what it is, I mean, I won't break down the acronyms, but it's effectively talking about safe. So the safer sex. It's, you know, emotional content, what does this mean, things like this. And it's all things that in reality, you wish you were having that conversation with someone anyway.
Yeah.
It is the first step in being truthful and intimate with someone, right? If you really want to connect with someone, it's important to be able to have this kind of a conversation. I think it's a lovely first step into the container of intimacy.
Yeah. I'll share. I once went to an event shortly after I hosted one of these play parties, and it was this event where there were some of the top coaches, like, in the self-development space. There's a lot of those in like those types of people in Austin. I went to an event where it was like a mecca for like the top coaches. Anyways, someone that had been to one of our play parties came up to me and said that workshop was like one of the best technologies, tools that they've learned in the past 5 years. I don't own it. Like, this is something that I've gotten from other people, but I just want to share that, again, this is a space where you're learning and you're growing, and it can support you outside of the container. But yeah, so we have the safer sex and consent. We circle up, we go over the agreements, and then we do some different exercises and things to begin warming people up, right? Sometimes it's something like sacred sluts. Sometimes it's shibari. Sometimes it's we get really creative, and we usually have like a theme for each play party. Do you want to share anything about those? Or
yeah, we can. I like what you said that about warming up. All of those conversations. There's all of that warm up, and then there's an icebreaker. So like you already get the room is warm, and then you have some kind of icebreaker. People get to introduce each other. And then you go into a theme, and I'm trying to think of some of the sacred slut was certainly a theme. I didn't get to go December. You do the naughty and nice, which I wasn't able to be at the last one. There was one I think that was a shibari workshop. There was one that was naked sushi. Yes. Which was really beautiful.
Covered a model in sushi.
And then there are others there, like there's not necessarily a particular theme.
Yeah.
The one that you were describing about the man receiving from, that was...
Pleasure Temple.
Yeah, Pleasure Temple. And by the way, in that story you were telling about him, he was sitting, like if he's there, I was sitting right here.
Right in front of him.
Looking into his eyes, like this far away as I am from the camera while this was happening.
Wow.
And it was a really cool experience to see him receiving that. And just like, like he and I were sharing a little bit of offline communication, which was kind of cool too. So I was at that one.
Yeah, sometimes we bring in, and like this will be more up to you moving forward, but sometimes we bring in a guest facilitator. I'm sure I'll be a facilitator sometimes. I'm sure that you'll facilitate things, and then also collaborate with the community, which is another really beautiful thing that I've seen happen, is some of the other adjacent sensual sexual communities kind of coming together in this space as well.
I've been to not naked soul parties, but been others and we may bring some of these in, where there are like archetype parties, which are really cool.
Yeah.
There was one I went to that was like a sacred rage that really did not materialize into a play space. I don't know if that was a good combination.
That's so funny.
I mean, it was cathartic in its own way, but it really wasn't a play party.
I once brought in a professional dom that is a very intense dom. And when that was one of our least erotic, it was a very fun play party, and people got really into those dynamics, but it was one of the least sexual play parties we've actually ever had, because people were really into this, like that set a different tone. It was really funny. So similar to the rage, I think.
There are events I've been to that are like exploring eros through art, which I would love to bring into the Naked Soul Society, because like you're talking about, it's these creative people bringing this life force energy. Well, let's share that. We can share that with each other.
One thing that I've thought of doing that I've never done is a naked open mic, because you think about people when they're like, they say, imagine everyone in their underwear. It's like, what if they were in their underwear?
Yeah. Could you get up and do karaoke in the nude?
Yeah. So there could be like a stage, and then things are happening around the room. It could be fun.
Would you personally be more scared of singing or being naked?
Oh, singing for sure. Yeah. I'm a decent singer. I actually like singing, but I get so nervous. Anything performative. It's so funny because Andrew doesn't understand this because he's quite performative, but I get up in front of people all the time. That's my job. But if it's like I'm acting, singing, performing, I cannot do it. I once practiced singing like with my friend and we went to an open mic, I literally froze in the middle of it, got into a laughing fit. I couldn't stop laughing. I walked off the stage. I was like, I can't do this. Can you imagine? Like,
Yeah, I can. I mean,
oh my
because
God.
when you're in a performance like that, there's a feeling of it being able to do it right or wrong,
Yeah.
which is something to overcome.
Yeah.
In like what better space
Yeah, exactly.
to try to overcome it. So thank you for answering the question.
Yeah. TBD. We'll see. If
I
that
remember
comes.
actually you singing to me. So there was a whole nother thing that I got to support that I felt good about
Yeah.
where I got to have Leola sing to me, and it was a beautiful thing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. That's another episode.
Yeah. So to wrap us up, I'd love to hear more about what legacy do you see bringing into Naked Soul Sighted and make it you, and also, yeah, like how do you see this community evolving?
I see it evolving. I think we've alluded to it a little bit. I love what you have curated and how you brought together people who, again, like are sharing this creative life force energy that has this healing capacity, right? It's in Tantra, at least the Neo Tantra that I've studied so far that we work in, and in the West for sure, it's very self-directed, inner-directed, as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right? The individual cells have to be healed. But as we start combining that energy into community, I really think that the ills that we all face are the ills related to being in a world that appears to be connected but is not.
Yeah.
So community's the answer is my point, but not just any community, not communities built on shared bias. Communities that are conscious communities built on compassion and directed energy towards something that matters. And it sounds heady because we're having play parties and we're having fun. That is true.
Yeah.
But I think that fun and that pleasure and that co-creation is what will generate the kinds of bubbles of happiness that start to ripple out into the world.
Yeah.
You know, if we have 30 people at a play party and those 30 people have fun at that party and they have a great week, then they're going to have an impact on, exponentially more people. And I just think it can have that ripple effect.
Yeah.
So, you've created this, you've curated this, and people have brought this energy in. Now we have it. Can we focus it to do good?
Yeah.
Can we strengthen it? Can we make it bigger and more powerful? And now can we conspire for greater good than what happens within the play parties and within the community?
Yeah.
The truth is, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
And I want to go to the community and say, what do you think? Is this too idealistic? Is this too heady? What do you want to do?
I love that. I think that the community is ripe and ready for more leadership in like having someone come in and really be like, what do we want to create together? Because it's not something that I've had a ton of capacity for because I've been creating all these other things, And so I feel like there's just so much potential and availability, and I'm really curious and excited to see what you do with it. And I also know, so the Naked Soul Society, the events are mostly happening in Austin. You might be bringing some more events to San Antonio and building out the community there. I know that you have events in Austin. If you're listening to this, it is worth flying into Austin for the weekend to come to one of our events. 1,000,000%. I've had a ton of people do it, and they keep coming back from Minnesota, from Alabama, random places, New Orleans, whatever. So please do. I also am hosting some events in LA and New York City every once in a while, so you can find those on my website. But I'm curious to hear from you, Dennis, like what other things are you doing that people might want to be involved in, be curious about to get to know you better and your work?
Well, I mean, you can, just like everybody, you can always follow me on social media. So I'm on Instagram at It's Dennis Hull. You can follow me there. My website's dennishull.com. And so I do some one-on-one coaching. I actually thought I would do more of that, but it's gravitated away from that a little bit. So I do some one-on-one coaching. I do tantric body work in San Antonio and in Austin. I've got some group coaching containers that are coming up and some events. I started this series with a friend of mine, and it's called Attuned, and it's really geared towards couples, and it's geared towards mostly nonverbal communication. And it's just about, again, it's similar to so many other things we do. It's about cultivating intimacy in a way that has you really having to pay attention to what's going on with the other person.
Yeah.
In your own work and mine as tantric practitioners, so much of it is just being attuned to the breath, sound, and movement, the responses of what you're seeing in the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
So it's taking, it's not teaching people Tantra per se. It's just showing them what life can be like in a relationship if they just slow down and pay intentional attention to each other and attune. So that series kicked off in June. We had a really good response, and people love what we put together. And so now we're trying to scramble to meet demand for more of that. So yeah, just more to come in all of that. I am hoping to bring some things to San Antonio. I'm also getting engaged with another protege of yours in Houston, who's bringing more Tantra into the Houston area. So I'll be there supporting their events. So yeah, I'm just living it and then trying to remind myself to rest and eat and take care of myself so I don't have I don't get sick. I've been sick for a couple of weeks because I'm just in it. I love all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm forgetting to rest sometimes. But yeah, those are the ways to keep up with me. If you sign up on my website for the email list, you'll be kept up on what's going on as it starts to all curate and come together. And
awesome. Yeah, I'm so happy to see this work coming to all these new places. And if you're listening to this, and you're interested in bringing Tantra to your community, reaching out to myself or even Dennis to receive mentorship on that could be really powerful. And especially if you're a woman, the Pleasure Priestess Initiation is a great way to do that. The woman that's bringing the community to Houston is in that program. There's women weaving this world and work into their own modalities and creating, honestly, completely new modalities by applying these tools to the tools that they already have and bringing them to their communities. So you can find all of this information in the show notes, all of Dennis's information, all of Naked Soul Society, Pleasure Priestess, upcoming events, all of the things. Thank you so much, Dennis, for being here today.
Thank you for having me, and just thank you for everything. Thank you for what you built, and thank you for the honor of being able to participate in the legacy.
Yeah. And thank you so much to the listener for opening yourself up to this sacred and sexy conversation. We'll catch you next time on Talk Tantra to Me. Ta-ta. All right, babe, let's talk about your pleasure power. You're meant to experience more ecstasy, more ease, more turn on in your body and in life. But where is your hidden block? What's keeping you from fully owning or receiving even more pleasure in this delicious life? I've created a free Pleasure Power quiz to help you uncover your unique pleasure archetype and pinpoint exactly where your growth edge is. Also, when you take the quiz, you'll get access to a juicy Tantra ritual, also free and tailored to your unique pleasure archetype. Also, don't miss the Sexual Shadow Work Workbook, your guide to clearing shame, activating your turn on, and stepping into your most radiant and embodied self. Also free. Find them both at www.talktantratome.com/free or get the link in the show notes. Life is about to get very juicy.